All right, Shelf Space, episode 17. We're getting up there, guys.
17.
Yeah, we're live, and we got, as always, Charles live out from Montreal,
Hey, everybody.
and Gina from Toronto,
Hello.
and I'm out in Edmonton where the snow's melting and life is good,
Hmm.
where we can get on with things here. So we got just kind of a pop culture update style of show today. We're going to talk about Captain Marvel, which has been out in theaters for a month or so. And Shazam, I actually got to watch that one in an early screening, so we'll talk about that one a little bit. Uh,
No spoilers.
no spoilers on that one. James Gunn, we'll talk about his ongoing saga with Marvel, and some comic book reads, upcoming statues, and the topic of the day: increases in prices. So let's just get into it right now. We'll talk about Captain Marvel. I think before we get into it, I will just say to everybody, spoiler alert for this one, because I think it's been out for a while, and I think we're going to talk about a little bit about what happens in that movie. So we've all seen it, right? All three of us.
Yep, I've seen it.
Okay, so Gina, let's start off with you. You've seen it. What do you think of Captain Marvel?
I think it was a solid film. It wasn't groundbreaking, and it wasn't Marvel's best film. But for what it's worth, it was a lot better than some of their other films, like Thor: Dark World. And I mean, there was a lot of hoopla about this film, and people, had critics had issues with X, Y, and Z. But just from a story point of view, it was a solid story. And it wasn't their best, but it certainly wasn't their worst. And I think it was a good and unique sort of origin story. Um, and I found the best part of the film was, um, the scenes with Captain Marvel returning back to Earth, and she's on Earth. I wish that they had focused on more scenes on that.
Mm-hmm. So Charles, what did you think, Captain Marvel?
Well, yeah, I got to to this film from two different directions. One is what did I think of the film, and two, this film came with so much background drama before the film even began,
It
right?
did, yeah.
And what was really about the community, right? You've got the comic fans who seem to think that because they have a comic background, their stamp of approval holds greater significance than someone walking into the movie theater watching a movie, which is wrong, right? Because the movie, we all know going in, the movie is only loosely based on the comic book character. So this continued, our stamp of approval is more important than anybody else's, is kind of starting to irk all the wrong people. And it's to the point where people don't even want to hear what comic fans think anymore, right? Because it's constant bashing. And the other thing is, how often does someone come up to you and say something like, "So, what did you think of Chris Hemsworth as Thor? Did you think as a guy he was able to do the role?" And there was so much concentration on Brie Larson being a woman and leading the Marvel universe, and this is an Academy Award winning actress. What more can you bring to a role than the highest honor you can give to an actress? And still it wasn't good enough, So you have to think that there was some unnecessary drama that was played into, before the movie even began. So that aside, having to stomach that, asking me what do I think of the movie, I thought it was good. I saw it as a buddy movie. The best scenes were her and Samuel L. Jackson,
Mm-hmm.
and he gave her, as an actor, he gave her all the space, to shine. Right? Samuel L. Jackson is usually an actor that takes up a lot of space, and deservedly so. There's only one person, an interesting statistic about Samuel L. Jackson, there's only one person in film who's made more money overall, and that's Harrison Ford. Second is Samuel L. Jackson.
Really?
So,
Wow.
yeah, it's an incredible statistic about that particular actor. But bringing it back to the Buddy movie for a moment, they were great together. What chemistry! I hope to see them again together. They were great. Did I have any issues with the film? I think that we heard a lot of people say, well, aren't the Skrulls bad guys? I think people are missing the point. Not all Skrulls are bad. Not all Kree are bad, just like not all humans are bad. So we're going to meet the bad Skrulls the next time around. I think everybody knows that, most people know that this film is kind of a setup for the Kree Skrull War that is coming. I'm betting the end of Endgame, for example, is going to end with one of the Avengers being a Skrull or something. You
So
know,
does that tie into our question here? Do you think? And Chris, obviously you've seen the movie too.
Yeah, yeah.
And I want to hear what you think about the movie, but really quickly, does this tie into our question here? Do we think this film and the next phase of Marvel is going to go to the Secret Invasion and storyline somehow? I don't know.
So Secret Invasion, of course, for people that don't know, was infestation of the Skrulls, basically on Earth, that didn't really people didn't know, because obviously they can shape change, and it turns out all these characters were actually Skrulls. So quickly, for me, I liked the movie. I thought it was good. I kind of saw it as the sequel to the Pager. You remember the Pager from the end credit screen in Endgame? And when Nick Fury had that in his hand, and nobody really knew how or why he got it, well, this movie kind of explains that. So, and like Charles said, I liked the parts with Nick Fury in it, and when they interact with each other. Those were my favorite parts of the movie. But overall, it was just, for me, it was just kind of okay. I'd put it somewhere in the middle if we're ranking the whole MCU, but it was all right.
What would you give it on 10?
Out of 10, to give some context, my three favorite are Infinity War, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Winter Soldier. Those would be my three favorites so far. I'd give those like a 9.5 out of 10. And then on the bottom end, I would give like Spider-Man Homecoming like a 2, Iron Man 3 like a 2. So I'd give this like a 6. It's somewhere in the middle.
Homecoming gets a 2.
I hated it. Hated everything about it. Yeah. I'm one of those comic book guys you mentioned off the top.
The stamp of approval. I actually liked it. I gave it between an 8 and an 8.5. I think that they tried to break new ground. They tried to separate from who she was in the comic books, and I think they did a pretty good job of it. I think the Captain Marvel character in the comic books, how many canceled titles did she have? Like 5 or something? They struggled to make her interesting. Whereas in the movie, I was actually interested. I was actually interested in her. And the comic books wasn't able to do that as well. So I gave them a couple extra points for being able to do that. So I thought it was a success for me.
Gina, rank it out of 10.
I give it a 7.5.
Yeah. So you thought it was okay.
Yeah, I wasn't as invested into the film in the first 20 minutes. The whole outer space scenes and stuff, it were great. It was great CGI, and the acting was pretty good. But the minute she landed on Earth, and what it was, and what they did was the take on that story was a bit of a twist. So they did the out of fish sort of take where she comes to Earth, but the twist was that she's sort of a fish out of water, but she doesn't care. She's like, get out of my way. I have a mission. So they added that twist to it, right? So she's obviously a fish out of water. She's on Earth and whatever, but the twist was that she just didn't care. She's a fish out of water. Just get out of my way, and and I'm more advanced than you, and move out of the way, and I'm more badass than you. So I just felt myself, my attention span and what I was vested in the story just increased tenfold the minute she landed on Earth.
Yeah, and that's when it really kind of tied her into the rest of the universe that they've been building, right? She runs into Nick Fury, Agent Coulson, and all the characters that kind of it's sort of before they were still S.H.I.E.L.D., right? And in this movie,
it was S.H.I.E.L.D. Yes, they were S.H.I.E.L.D.
So, but it seemed like it was sort of the beginnings of S.H.I.E.L.D. They hadn't really. Develop themselves. So, and
also too, I have to say too, before I forget, I have to give a lot of credit to Ben Mendelsohn. Mendelsohn, that's how you pronounce his name. The lead actor who played the Kree leader on Earth.
The Skrull.
Yeah, sorry, the scroll. Yeah, he was the scroll. He was
From
his
Rogue
humor.
One.
Yeah,
He was in Rogue One.
yeah, he
Oh
was
yeah.
the humor he brought in, and you know, he was really really good. I'm glad that they got that actor.
Yeah. Overall, I thought it was pretty good. So, just to go jump back to your question you had for this topic, Gina, is the Secret Invasion thing. I think it would be really cool. I found this picture of Miss Marvel as a Skrull from
Mm-hmm.
Secret Invasion. I think it'd be kind of cool if she was the main Skrull.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of some kind of twist on that story all along.
Well, what
she
about
was
Spider Woman? She'd be cool too, because she wasn't she in the comic books?
she was, yeah. They'd
Yeah,
have to have a movie
introduce.
for her, I guess,
Yeah,
beforehand, which would be cool.
yeah.
I think to feel like there's more at stake, I think it would be better if it was one of the Avengers, like characters that were already attached to in film.
Yeah.
Because, you know, as Gina noted earlier, she said, I wasn't invested in the first 20 minutes. That's something that we heard from a lot of people who don't have the comic background. So, you know, for me, when I'm watching the first 20 minutes, this is like, you know, bees to honey. Oh, wow, the Kree. Oh, wow, you know, Jan Rog. Oh, you know, they're talking about the Supreme Intelligence. As a comic fan, this was, I'm being spoiled, right? Sorry, I'm being
Yeah.
spoiled. Whereas somebody who doesn't have the comic background might not know what it is, so they're not as in touch with that. Um, all this to say, I think that if
Well,
they're
I
going to
mean, no,
do,
I don't know what a comic book has anything to do with it. A comic book knowledge. I'm just talking about
I
pure.
think it has a lot to do with it.
I don't think so.
What
So
I,
the first
if
18
you're, if,
minutes or
hold on a
20
second, hold on a
minutes.
second, hold on a second. If the first 20 minutes, you know, you're not having an attachment to it, that's cool. I understand that. But I'm telling you, for me, that one of the reasons why I liked the first 20 minutes was because of the comic background. It was
No, I know.
I knew what I was looking at, right? I knew
I
what I was
understand, but you
seeing.
can't.
So
No, I totally understand, but you can't speak for me why I didn't appreciate the first 20 minutes. So let me explain
I
why.
didn't say I
I
was
think the
speaking for Gina.
storyline, the
Did I say
story.
I am speaking for Gina?
Yeah, you did. You
No, I
said the
didn't.
reason why. Yes, you did. You said the reason why I didn't like the first 20 minutes is because of the lack of my comic book knowledge or something like that. So speaking for the first 20 minutes, why I didn't think it was bad. I just wasn't. The story and the plot in the first 20 minutes wasn't as engaging. It's just from a story point of view, and it from an instant blast even the action wasn't as interesting as the minute she landed on Earth. So just from a story point of view, from film, just story, it wasn't as good. I didn't think it was bad. So I don't think knowledge of what's happening in your comic book knowledge has anything to do with, just speaking for myself, of why I didn't think the first 20 minutes was that amazing. It has nothing to do with it. It's just from a story point of view, and the action wasn't as it just wasn't as good.
Well,
It was more of a CGI, and
yeah.
you know, and that's what they rested on. So,
I think
but
you can think
anyways,
that. You know, I'm just saying from my point of view, seeing 20 minutes of Marvel Universe stuff was a treat. And I think from a selfish point of view, I'll add that it was great to see, you know. So when we're seeing Marvel movies, a lot of people are looking for those Easter eggs, right? So this is one of those moments where you are going to see some Easter eggs.
yeah,
Maybe
but
it attaches to something.
Easter eggs don't necessarily make a great film. So, I mean, you could throw in X, Y, and Z Easter eggs. So I'm just talking from a film point of view, for me personally. So, I mean, I don't think comic book knowledge has anything to do
Yeah.
with why anyone would like the first 20 minutes. But,
So
you know,
speaking of Easter
Definitely
eggs,
disagree with that.
they did tie the movie in with Guardians of the Galaxy. You saw the what's the guy who
Ronan?
says Ronan. It was Ronan, but I'm thinking of the other guy that was part of their little crew. The guy
Jan
who
Rog,
I don't
the
remember.
guy who played
Wait,
Jude Law. I'm sorry,
No,
No.
no,
the character played by Jude Law.
no. You know the guy from Guardians of the Galaxy when Star-Lord says, "Come on, man, legendary outlaw," and he says, "Who?" That guy.
Oh, right.
What was
I
his
forget
character's name? I can't remember, but he was in it. So there's all these ties to Guardians of the Galaxy,
Yeah.
and Captain Marvel definitely is being billed as one of the most powerful characters because Ronan basically saw her and turned around and hightailed it out of there. So we'll move on from one Captain Marvel to another, I guess. Shazam is coming out in theaters, I believe, next weekend. For the full release, but I actually got a chance to see this one in theater last weekend. So it was, I don't know why it was out, but there was some kind of special screening, and we just grabbed tickets and went.
They had that special screening in Montreal also. I think it was everywhere. They had like a special screening.
Yeah,
One
lots of
night.
people mentioned that they got a chance to see it early, and I think that was probably a marketing ploy just to start building some hype and some buzz for it. And I got to say, I really liked it. I thought it was an excellent movie. I don't want to give too much away about it, but it's definitely some humor in it. Like this scene here where he goes and tries to buy some beer. I mean, we can probably all relate to that. If we were kids when we got this power to be an adult, what would we do? This scene here where he changes into Shazam. I mean, that's in all the trailers. That's pretty.
Can you actually confirm one thing? Does he actually ever go by the name Captain Marvel?
He doesn't. No.
Really?
Never. Yeah.
Wow.
That's probably some kind of licensing thing. So no, they don't do that. But I thought the movie was excellent, to be honest.
Good
Definitely.
stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely part of the DC universe. Like, they acknowledge that. So I definitely recommend it if you guys get the chance to see it, or if anybody's thinking, aren't sure about it. I'd go check it out, give it a shot.
Oh, we're going this Friday. Actually, we're taking the kids, so we're definitely looking forward to seeing it.
And definitely a movie suitable for kids. They'll love it. Lots of funny parts, and so I guess with that movie, and it's got lots of great reviews. So far on the Rotten Tomatoes score, and everything's quite high for it, regardless of what you think of Rotten Tomatoes. But I guess that leads us to the question: is this kind of the tone that we're going to see from DC movies maybe going forward? Do you think?
I'm not sure. I think they're going to tone it down from the super grim, but if Shazam feels like Big, Tom Hanks' Big,
a little bit, yeah.
I don't know how they can keep it that light, because the other heroes are adults, right? So I don't know. And right now we've heard that Ezra Miller is working with Grant Morrison to try and come up with a really good, more adult-oriented Flash movie. They're working on a screenplay together, so I don't know if they're going to keep it light. We'll see. I think DC, their issue has always been consistency, right? So keeping the actors, tying all the movies together. Who knows? Your guess is as good as mine. If Shazam does really well, I think they're going to try and continue that. But who knows? Who knows what's up DC's mind?
Yeah. What do you think, Gina?
Well, I mean, obviously, Wonder Woman I don't think it's going to be a lighter tone. I think that's already set and done. That's already been filmed. So, I don't know. I think maybe it could have just been sort of a coincidence that Aquaman and Shazam just happened to line up, and they were just, in terms of release dates, and they just happened to be two lighter films. I don't know if I don't think it really reflects, that this is a change for DC. I don't know, but maybe more so it sort of indicates that this is the end of the whole Zack Snyder era. Maybe that's more what it sort of indicates, that this is a step away from that. But I mean, I think the next film to come out from DC after Shazam might be Wonder Woman. I'm not sure, and I don't think that's going to be a lighter tone. So
I thought the first one, it wasn't a lighter tone, but it was lighter than like Justice League.
Everything is lighter than Zack Snyder's.
But Wonder Woman was, I really enjoyed it because it did have a little bit of humor in there.
Absolutely,
and then,
absolutely.
I felt more attached to those characters by the end of the movie than I did in any of the previous ones, for sure. Yeah. Shazam comes out next week, and I really liked it. So I think definitely go see it if you get a chance. Charles, let me know what you think after you see it.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I think one of the things with Shazam, I'm wondering if they're gonna actually do the Marvel family, right? Like all the other Shazam type characters, Mary Marvel and so on. It'd be very interesting to see if they're gonna take that direction and create their own Shazam universe.
Well, you'll have to wait and see on that. And
okay.
The one thing I'll say about Shazam, I'm not sure if he has the villains to carry several sequels. I know The Rock is sort of tied or scheduled to play Black Adam. But I think they're planning to do a separate movie of Black Adam first and tie him into the Shazam universe or something. But but we'll see. Hopefully it does, because I really enjoyed it. So let's move on to talk about our James Gunn. We did mention we had him featured in a show earlier, just talking about how he was dismissed from Guardians of the Galaxy and all that, and he was sort of picked up from Marvel by DC right away, and was signed on to do Suicide Squad Part 2. I will just sort of point out here, it's sort of fitting that he's blocking out Will Smith right in this image here, because I think he's been replaced by Idris Elba.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're right.
So is he playing the same character? Do we know quickly? It's still Deadshot, or
I think so.
Well, yeah, if they're replacing, I would imagine it is.
Yeah.
So,
and then they just released that James Gunn has been rehired for Guardians 3.
Yeah, and now he's back.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
I always felt like it was kind of a rushed decision when they let him go. It was like this stuff came out about some tweets from 5 years ago or whatever, and everyone kind of knew about, except for maybe one of the executives at Marvel, and decided, oh, we got to let him go. So I don't know. I mean, now that he's directing both, which one are you kind of more excited to see? The Suicide Squad, which apparently is less of a sequel and more of a reboot, apparently.
That's what they say. It's a reboot.
And then Guardians 3, of course, will be a sequel. I think the crown of his trilogy, let's say. So, Gina, which one of those two? If you had to pick one, you can only see one, and the other one you're never allowed to see.
For sure. Suicide Squad for sure. Because I've seen what James Gunn can do with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
So I know what he was capable of, and I think it was amazing. So, and because Suicide Squad, the first one was, in my opinion, the first film was, a failure, story-wise and tone-wise. I just want to see him reboot it and give his take. And I just in terms of his past films, I can't see him dropping the ball with Suicide Squad. So I'm really curious to see what he's going to do and how he's going to lift that film up. But that's my choice.
So it's a lot of the same. Actually, I just heard them say that the Captain Boomerang is going to be back. So it's going to be, and Margot Robbie, I assume, would be back.
I think so.
But still kind of a reboot. I'm interested to see how they do that. If I had to pick, I'd probably go Guardians of the Galaxy, just to see how they wrap that up. Does Star-Lord and Gamora end up together, or how's their relationship end up?
That's what you want to know, right?
I want to know, man. I'm into the love story. Yeah. But I'd like to see where they take it from the last one, where he's kind of this revealed as sort of a demigod type of character, Star-Lord I'm speaking of. So,
well, in Guardians of the Galaxy, the second one, they kind of we saw the cocoon, right? For Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what they're going to do with that, because he's part of that cosmic universe. There's a story to tell there. The development, the creation of the perfect male. So originally he'll be called him. I don't know if they're going to follow the comics, but that visual is direct from the comics. But to answer your question, how do I feel about James Gunn? Well, you know what? I like him. I think he does good work. I am kind of ambivalent to what they said he did. The pictures that he took, was it in poor taste? Definitely. But it seems like most humor that's 10 years or 20 years old is now seen with poor taste. So, if it came out, that this guy is on a list somewhere, that he actually is a pedophile, that's something different. But taking poor taste pictures when he's 20 or something, I mean, goodness knows, I've seen worse. So I hope they could find a way to get past this and kind of forgive the arrogance and stupidity of a young man, and see that people can grow, people can change, and people can mature. And it's clear that this guy can direct. So let's see what he can do with Suicide Squad. I think he is also a writer too, picks the music, has a hand in who's in the film. So this guy's a very hands-on director, and there aren't many out there that are, where you can feel their presence on every aspect of a film. So I think it's a good idea.
I think
So
it's
which
some interesting. I think it's interesting how, after all of this drama with James Gunn, he, now in 2019 March, he's come out the winner. He's now
yeah,
directing. He's now
he's got
directing
both.
Suicide Squad, which everyone thought, wow, what a great gift for him. And now he was rehired to finish his whole trilogy on Guardian of the God. He, after all the drama, and you know, he came out a complete winner. He's got both films. I mean, in a way, strange irony is, if those tweets had not been exposed and this and that, he wouldn't have gotten Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have been fired, and then he wouldn't have been hired for Suicide Squad. So strange, weird, strange, sort of events led to this, where he's become the winner in this all.
So what does it say, about Disney? Like Disney for firing him and then Disney for hiring him, rehiring him, I should say. I mean, there's a
It's so
commentary here.
strange. It's so strange how they rehired him, and it's also strange how the hiring came right after the Fox deal was finalized. So now the Fox deal is completely finalized. It's weird that the hiring literally came on the heels of that. The rehiring came on the heels of that. I have no idea what's happening behind the scenes. Like, what's up? Did they know? Did they know? Did Disney know a year ago that they were going to rehire him, probably, and then just kept it on the down low? That's some of the theories that are coming out. That they were just waiting for the Disney deal to be signed, and then that was it. I have no idea. Yeah.
Well, the actors got what they wanted. I mean, they all
Yeah.
came out in support of him right off the bat, right as soon as that was announced, and made it definitely painted him in a good light. So I mean, if he is this great guy, good for him. And like you said, he comes out looking the winner definitely. And if Disney can admit their mistake and rehire him, I guess that's good too. I mean, they could have just said no, we're gonna go with this new direction, but they moved on, and hopefully we're all better for it as fans too. So let's switch gears a little bit here and talk about some comic books, what we've been reading lately. And Charles, we'll start off with you. I'll just throw up.
I'll start with Kill or Be Killed.
Yeah, that's the one the one I have first there. So let's start with that.
This is a book, I believe, released by Image Comics. It's written by Ed Brubaker. Some of you may know did some excellent work on Daredevil and some excellent work on Captain Marvel. He was around for that whole Winter Soldier saga. Anyway, Kill or Be Killed is basically about this depressed college student who, after a failed attempt to kill himself, is visited by this demon of some kind who says the only way he can stay alive moving forward is if he kills someone once a month. And this sounds like a bizarre premise, but the way it's written is so compelling, because he has to go. Here's this college student. He's not the Punisher, right? This is a college student who was going through a series of depression. Going through depression. He doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. His girlfriend situation is not working out. And then all of a sudden this happens to him. And he has to find ways, okay, who can I kill and how can I kill them? And he bungles his way through most of it. Of course, over time, he gets better at it. And it's this journey, and it's very interesting. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, they've done great work together. They also worked on Fade Out and this other book that I'm also reading by them right now called The Sleeper, which is the other book.
Yeah, I'll just try to find that. Here we go. This one.
The Sleeper is another. This one, I believe, is in part of the Wildstorm DC imprint, and it's basically the story of this secret agent type guy who has these special abilities. He cannot be hurt, and he kind of is on the run. And I don't want to tell you why or how. And the only person who can clear him is in a coma. And he's being chased down by all these other people who also have special abilities. And we're trying to get to know this world that he lives in, where all these special abilities are out there, and who are they and why are they? And it's very much like edge of your seat type reading. And Ed Brubaker is amazing at this. And anytime I see Ed Brubaker's name on a comic book, I will want to pick it up. It's always compelling. It's always a compelling read. So,
yeah, I like most of his stuff too, and I've read that one. It's pretty good. It's a good read for sure. Sleeper. So you had one more here.
Yeah, Monstrous. Monstrous. I want to make sure that I get the names right. Marjorie Liu and um, Sana Takeda. This is basically a story that takes place in 1900 Asia. And it's a matriarchal society, and there's a war going on between the humans and the Arcanics. The Arcanics are kind of like these half breeds, and it's just an incredible read. The book is beautiful, and it's so original. It's got a lot of steampunk in it, a lot of future, a lot of past, a lot of tradition, and it's basically the story of this one girl that you were seeing, who's on her journey to find out who she is. And it's kind of a revenge story too. I really, because it's hard to talk about this book without telling you too much about it, but suffice it to say, it's one of the most beautiful books I have seen in the last 20 years, which isn't easy to say, because we have a lot of most artists today, the best ones seem to be cover artists. You don't really see that much beautiful art in the interior, whereas this one is easily one of the nicest I have seen in the last 20 years. And I think that this is a book pretty much anyone could read, and you don't have to have 20 years of comic book history. Monstrous is a new book that just started, a few years ago? So you can really start there. And it's the same thing with the two other books, Kill or Be Killed or Sleeper. These are all recent books that don't date back to the 60s. And just as a quick aside segue, I think that's the most intimidating thing for anyone who wants to read comic books, because they see, like right now, Detective Comics is issue 1000. Right. So if you want to get back and read comic books, it's so intimidating. Do I miss anything? And, do I need to know anything? What's the history between Batman and the Riddler? Has it changed? Is it anything like the movies? Well, these three titles that I recommended today all have a beginning. They're very recent, and you can get everything at your bookstore. Highly recommended.
Yeah, and the artwork looks excellent, like you mentioned in that Monstrous. Yeah. I showed a few pages from that, and yeah, it looks excellent. So, Gina, Charles mentioned Detective Comics 1000. That's the one you were going to mention this week.
Yeah.
So here we go. So tell us about this one.
So I want to read this because I sort of fell into the hype. It's Batman's anniversary. This was released, I think, on the 27th of March. So, I figured I just take a look, and you could find some sort of excerpts, and you can find a free copy online if you look hard enough and more difficult. So basically what it is basically a whole set of short stories. So many different contributors, Jim Lee and Greg Capullo and even Kevin Smith. Now, I mentioned Kevin Smith because his little short story, I found to be my favorite. And his little short story that he had in here was really cool. It's like about this little souvenir shop in Gotham City. That's a very strange souvenir shop that sort of keeps these very morbid artifacts from crimes committed in Gotham. I'm not going to say anything more. And then you just have this visitor visiting and asking all these questions. I'm not going to say anything else. But it was really cool to see Kevin Smith sort of do one of the stories. And I liked his story. I think it's one of my favorites. And I don't want to give away anything else about that storyline. But it was pretty cool. It's a whole pack. I didn't read all the stories. It's like a whole bunch of them. I think it's like 96 pages too. So, but I went through most of it, and it was pretty good. I have to admit, I fell into the hype of because I'm more into Marvel, but I fell into the hype because it is Batman's anniversary. It's got released. There's so much attention on this issue, so I said, okay, you know what? I don't normally read Batman. I'm gonna try this one out. So. Good.
So
I think it came in whole. I think that one shipped with like 80 variant covers.
Oh yeah. That's the trend these days. So would you say like most of the stories are kind of standalone things?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, because I forgot all about it this week. I went in and forgot to pick that one up. So hopefully there should be still some kicking around next week, I think, at the comic book store. So for me, I just read one called Mr. Miracle. Just came out. It's a 12-issue series by Tom King, and the artist is Mitch Gerads. And this is a character I knew very little about. I'll admit, before going into this, I didn't realize. I don't know, Charles. Do you know much about Mr. Miracle? Have you followed that?
Oh, Mr. Miracle was born on New Genesis, right? It's from the New God storyline, and Mr. Miracle and Orion, they kind of switched. right? It
Yeah,
was kind of like
and
part of a peace treaty between Apocalypse and New Genesis, and Orion became part of the elites of New Genesis, whereas Darkseid put Mr. Miracle through hell, with
yeah,
Granny Goodness class. It's very interesting in the way they portrayed him. But I'm
yeah.
not reading the. Is this like a revamping of his origin that they're doing right now?
I don't think so. It's already concluded. You can get it the whole series in a trade, and it's kind of a standalone story, I guess. But I didn't know it. I didn't know any of this background of him. I thought he was a human. I didn't know that he was had this god background and ties to Darkseid and all that. So it took me a little while to kind of wrap my head around that, but the story was amazing, I have to say, and it kind of flips back and forth between the scenes on New Genesis and Apocalypse, because those two nations, we'll call them, are at war, right? Continually, and so we're constantly flipping back and forth. And then you get the scenes on Earth like this, where he's with his brand new baby, and he has a relationship with Big Barda.
Right.
They're married, and which is kind of funny because she makes him look so small. But the artwork on this is fantastic. The entire 12 issues is all like this, where you got 9 panels per page, and it's all done by the same artist, Mitch Gerads, and he does an amazing job. Great writing, so it bounces back and forth between these high level wars and powers and abilities and stuff, to this very kind of mundane life that they have on Earth. So it's really well done, I thought. So I recommend that one. And another one that I just am currently reading as well is the new Punisher series by Matthew Rosenberg. And this is kind of a follows on the heels of the what's it called, the Secret Empire. Where Captain America is actually a part of Hydra, and that storyline. Or the Punisher was tricked into working for Hydra, and now he's kind of hell-bent on single-handedly taking down Hydra.
Wouldn't want to be Hydra right now.
Yeah, so and he does a pretty good job at it, we'll say, the Punisher. So that's my current reads, and both were really good. I recommend both of those.
Yeah. Before we go to the next section, did you get the picture of the Conan cover?
Oh, I did. Yeah, we'll throw that.
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys something really cool. We don't really talk about it on the show very much, but just very quickly, one of the things that I like to do is I like to buy original art, and that cover, I acquired it. Like, I don't know if you could see it here.
Yeah,
that is the actual painting, the original art for that cover. And it was painted by Esad Ribic. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. He's from Croatia.
Yeah.
And it's an honor to own it. And I saw that cover posted maybe about a month ago, and I reached out to the art dealer. I think is Anthony Snyder. And we put a deal together, and the artwork is now in my hands. It's unbelievable. It looks even more incredible in person. So, yeah.
That's a pretty nice cover, I gotta say. I'm not a Conan follower, but that one is that one's pretty cool. I gotta say, you can almost feel like you're on the boat.
Right, you hear the creaking of the boat, like when you see it. It's on Comic Art Fans if anybody wants to look it up. But you were saying about Conan. I'm not a huge Conan fan. Like, in general, I find a lot of his stories are kind of in the same realm. But the great Conan stories by Bauer Windsor Smith, and now that Jason Aaron is writing it, I'm really looking forward to picking up the first trade. For those who are not sure, Jason Aaron wrote the amazing Thor storyline of the last few years.
Yeah.
He's now writing Conan, and he also did a brilliant run on Star Wars. That's a very difficult comic book to write in an interesting way, and he managed to do it. So he's easily one of the best writers out there now.
Did he write the Darth Vader run?
No, he did not. That is
that was
somebody
Kieran
else.
Gillen or something. Yeah. Okay, but yeah, he's a good writer. I like his stuff.
Well,
he's got it
it's
on
right
the
up
shelf.
there. No,
It's Kieran
Yeah, I was
Gillen, I
just
think.
pointing to it. You were right. It's not Jason Aaron. It's the other guy that you were mentioning.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll move on to we'll switch gears again from comics to collectibles, statues. We're going to just kind of run through some of the pre-orders that have come up in the last little while and just talk about them in general. So we'll throw one up here. This is from Connecticut's. We had Adib Meinl on the show a few weeks back, and this is one of the statues that was mentioned. This is my Shiranui from King of Fighters. So there's the full reveal there for people who are interested in that character. This is Artgerm style. I think they did a pretty nice job.
That's a really out there looking piece, you know. Got to be a little bit brave to put that one in your office. It's a beautiful looking piece. It's really out there.
Yeah, that's her costume. That's why she's got the following, I guess. Here's one from Tweeterhead. We got Batgirl. This one just came out, I believe. So this continues their superpowers lineup.
Tweeterhead consistently produces like amazing looking stuff. Very impressed by what they're doing.
Yeah, Gina, what do you think about that Batgirl?
I like it. I like it.
Yeah.
I'm sure that those one of those statues that just because I have one Tweeterhead in hand. When you see them in person, the paint is so much more vibrant. Their paint is unbelievable, and it's extremely like realistic. So I'm sure that Batgirl is one of those statues that the paint will be even more vibrant in person. Looks good.
Yeah, do either of you guys have the Sideshow Batgirl, the previous one?
I have the first one, which is my favorite. Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of that one.
It does.
Different color suit, but similar pose and hair and stuff. So, so here's one from Figurama. We mentioned this when we had Mr. Shinob on our show, Hunter x Hunter. This thing sold out 1,200 pieces in less than a day.
Wow! Just wow! Like just what you just said.
Yeah, 1,200. So they had to increase. Remember, you said they increased it from 800 to 1,200 and still sold it out.
Still sold out
easily. So. Congrats to them. That was their quickest sellout to date, a new record for them. So here's another one recently up for pre-order. This is Gambit from XM Studios. They continue their X-Men line. I really like the looks of this one. This is done by Martin Augusta, I believe.
Our good friend. On the show.
Yeah. So we got...
That's a beautiful looking piece, actually. You know, the Gambit, I really like it.
Yeah, so some switch out options, of course. With XM, you always get usually get some kind of switch out. You got the card energy effect or the single card and two different heads there. I really like that one. Gina, you're an X-Men fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about Gambit from XM?
It looks good. It looks good.
Yeah, I like it too. I think nice action pose. And I like the switch outs on that one. I think they add something, a different look. Another one from XM. They've finally completed their Sinister Six lineup.
Yeah.
We got Dr. Octopus. We saw this unpainted in Singapore and back in 2017, and it's a big statue. It's a very nice statue.
You could feel the weight of it just looking at it. It just feels heavy.
Yeah, it looks. Yeah. Get your shelves ready, reinforced. You got lots of time.
That's gonna be.
But
did they confirm that they're still doing it? That they still have the glasses where Spider-Man is sort of reflected in the glasses? Are they still doing that effect?
No.
No.
And so that's the one on the right here with the blue glasses that Gina's talking about.
Okay.
They tried it, and I think the explanation was they weren't confident they could reproduce it on the mass level.
Well, good. I'm glad that if they can't reproduce it, it's better to X-nay it than to give it to us and it sort of looks like 50% of what it should be. It's better just to X-nay it, period. So good for them. Okay.
I was secretly, I am getting this one, but if they had done it, I was going to paint over it. I didn't like it.
Oh, you didn't like it?
No.
Okay.
So I was going to repaint the glasses if they had come like that, which is fine. I was willing to do it because I love the rest of the statue. Here's one from another artist who's been on the show, David Giraud. So this is from DC Collectibles. This is called Engines of Chaos. I think it's a new line, sort of similar to their Gotham City Garage, maybe, where they have
It's a smaller scale. What is it? It's like eighth, 1/8? I
Yeah,
can't be
you can
sure.
see on the bottom of left of that picture there the rough scale compared to a hand. So it kind of fits in the palm of your hand. The Batman itself. So yeah, smaller piece, but lots of detail, lots of action going on there.
You know, it's interesting. I'm starting to see. Just go back to that picture for a second.
Sure.
Starting to see a little bit of some signature David Giraud in the landscape. It looks similar to the landscape in the Darth Maul. You know, that exploding sand or whatever
Yeah.
you want to call it, the exploding dirt.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that.
What do you think of the pastel sort of colors, the washed out pastel colors? I think it's very unique.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. It makes it very stylized, even more so.
Yeah, I like the purple cape and stuff. You know,
it's very
it's
pastelish.
different.
Yeah.
Very different. So I wonder if the other ones in that line will have a similar palette, I guess.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Another one from Iron Studios that just came up. Hawkman, 1/3 scale. This thing looks enormous. I love it. I think it looks amazing.
I call this the marriage breaker.
Yeah.
Get this and get this, and then you're sleeping on the couch.
This will be one of the most talked about statues of the year. If it's coming out this year, I think once people start posting pictures of it, people are just going to go, wow.
It looks amazing. Here's the other option with the wings out, and it's like 4 feet wide.
Jeez, 4 feet. Just think about that.
I know. So I'm very, very close to ordering that one. But I can't decide if I like the wings closed, but part of me wants the open wings.
If you're gonna get it, you gotta go full. You know.
I know that's where I'm at. So I'm kind of waffling. Should I get?
I gave you my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I know. It's either closed wings alone or it's both. I'm not getting just the open wings.
I think it looks amazing, but I gave you my thoughts. There's a marriage buster right there.
Yeah, but I think it's a fantastic looking piece, and Hawkman, getting some love, so that's kind of cool to see.
I could see people trying to hide the second box with the open wings. They try to hide that box.
And that honestly, that's one of my biggest concerns is it's likely coming in a different box.
Yeah.
The wings, and
where
where do they go?
You bring up a very good point. That's actually going to start to be a trend. The 2-box statue. I know, for example, the Shogun Batman. That's two boxes, 2 massive boxes.
Yeah. So if remember, we had David Ciccaroli on a few weeks back from Iron Studios, and this is one of the pieces we talked about then. Batman versus Joker. This is part of their 1/6 scale diorama line.
Oh, look at that.
And remember, he mentioned that there was a Killer Croc mixed in there. It's kind of a bit of an Easter egg. So there he is there in the sewer. Yeah. So you just get the head of Killer Croc, which I think is pretty cool.
That's cool.
And some of the smaller details of this piece, you got a Batarang sort of embedded in the brick there. And it looks like a pretty detailed piece. There's a lot going on there, lots of action, lots of Easter eggs and things. So here's another Batman that has come up recently. This one from Prime 1. Batman 0 Year. And he's on a motorcycle.
Motorbicycle. I like
a motorbicycle. I'm gonna go with that. I think this is probably 1/3. Do you guys know? Have you?
I think it is.
I think it is. Yeah.
So if that's 1/3 scale motorcycle, it's got to be enormous. I didn't look up the dimensions for it, but I think it's safe to say it's gigantic.
Yeah. Wow. 2 boxes.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think of this one? It's a different looking Batman.
I think it looks great. I think if you're a Batman fan and you have the space and you're looking for that sort of key statue in your collection, that I think it looks great. I mean,
signature piece kind of thing.
Signature piece, I guess. Yeah, that's the word I'm looking for. It's not for me, but I mean, I think it looks amazing. And the other thing too is that Prime 1 has a proven track record of getting those types of statues produced, really well, and they've got a really good track record with that. So.
Yeah, I had a few that I've been able to review Prime 1 pieces, and I have the Spider-Man 2099, which is pretty intricate as well. So
that one is quarter scale, though, right?
Yeah, it's a bit small. It's still pretty big, but um, yeah, like Gina said, I think they have a history of producing those intricate pieces. So this one, I wouldn't be concerned about that part of the statue. I'd just be concerned where am I going to put that thing?
Yeah.
It's enormous, right?
I that's an issue with a lot of their stuff. If you're going to order Prime 1, it looks like that's all you're ordering. The fans that seem to have gravitated towards Prime 1 in the last few years, it seems like that's pretty much all they're buying. They've moved away from quarter scale the way we kind of, or at least some of us, moved away from Bowen scale to go into quarter scale.
Mm-hmm.
It's a beautiful line of statues. However, it's not for everybody. Like, for example, look at the car you drive. Just a crazy example. I'm kind of glad, happy with the size of our family car and, our other car. Yet you have like these other people they want their massive 4x4 and they're happy with that. And for me, I'd feel uncomfortable driving in something like that. So
you guys,
to each their own.
I think for me,
that's Alberta in a nutshell. The 4x4 pickup truck.
No. I think for me, I mean, that's the only thing that's ever kept me back from getting a Prime 1 statue is just the size. It's. I mean, their paint application is great. Their sculpts are great. Their designs are great. It's the size. That's it, and that's not a knock on it. It's just that I know my limits. So
yeah,
it's just it's the only thing. I think they're great statues, and
yeah, they've had a few pieces that I've eyed up and kind of passed on just because of the size.
Yeah.
I really like the Hush Batman because I saw that in person at Wonder Festival last year, and I really liked it. But the base was enormous. I could, and my wife was there with me at the time, and she's like, "No, you can't get that." So that was we have nowhere to put that. Yeah, so I scratched that one off the list.
Yeah,
right
but you have Hawkman on the list, right?
Hawkman is now on the list. Yeah. Quickly, I want to say hi to Mark Randolph. Says he's been joining us live for the first time. So hi, Mark.
Thanks Welcome, Mark.
So I want to mention a new line from Sume Art. People know Sume as kind of an anime specialist, and they do statues of all sizes now because this is the start of their My Ultimate Bust life-size bust line. And this is, just to give you a size comparison here, this is a character from the anime called Bleach. His name is Ichigo. I think that's what it is. And the statue on the left is a previous statue of the same character, which was 1/6 or 1/7 scale-ish. You can see that life-size bust is quite large. But cool to see Sume venturing into new things. And one thing that's cool about what they do, or are doing now, you can't read it. I know that picture on the right the writing's too small, but what it's saying is those pink highlighted areas, they're saying, these areas might be PVC, they might be fiber, we're not sure. We're doing the engineering. These are eligible to be different materials. And so they're just coming out right off the bat and telling people that. So I think that's interesting. Because some other companies will say that the statue is going to be X number of materials, but they don't tell you what's what. So this is kind of a neat way of doing it, I think. Mm-hmm. So we'll see how that goes for Sumi. I know they sold quite a few pieces already. They're cutting it off at 1,000, but I think they've sold over 700 or something like that already. So let's move on to Sideshow, a statue that they teased recently. Jean Grey, continuing their X-Men line. And tell me what you guys think of this one, just based on this little teaser.
It doesn't look that different from the other Jean Grey. I don't know, like... I'm not particularly inspired. I mean, it's not a bad statue, but I'm not walking away going, I really need to have this one. There are other Jean Grey. It's this pose I've seen before, I guess is what I'm saying. It doesn't feel like, you remember when we saw the Punisher, just as a quick aside, we saw the Punisher at New York.
Yeah.
We were looking at that going like, wow, that's really nice. Even though we're not real Punisher fans, we might even be compelled to buy something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel that with this one, so that's my first feeling. Comes and goes. It's
Gina, what do you think about that one?
I mean, from what I could tell, it looks all right, but I don't think it's a major upgrade to their first one. I don't think it's that much of an upgrade.
Yeah,
So I
I should have got pictures. I don't have any at my fingertips here, and it reminds me kind of the Bow and Jean Grey. Do you remember that one
yeah,
when you
yeah, I
mentioned
do.
it? And I just thought of it when you mentioned that you'd seen the pose before, and I was like,
Yeah,
yes, we have seen it before. It looks like the Bow and Jean Grey, and I apologize, I don't have a picture of that. Um, but I
easy to
do
find.
like it. Comparing it to the previous Jean Grey, I think it looks like miles better, but
oh,
it's
you do, eh?
still kind of the same. Like, you know what I mean? It's still same costume, very similar in what she's doing.
So wait, so
Um,
sorry, did you say that you think it looks almost the same? Like, is it to you? Is it an upgrade to
I
the?
think it's an upgrade. If you look at
Oh,
the
you do, eh?
face, yeah, the
Okay,
face and the paint looks real. I mean, this is a prototype paint, of course, but to me, it looks better. I never
okay,
really cared for the previous one,
okay.
but Jean Grey's not really a character that I'm dying to have either. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and then here, this one quickly is going to lead into our next topic. The Juggernaut is another brand new release from Sideshow. This is one that they've been sort of teasing and hyping for a while, kind of like they did with Thanos, and a character that people have wanted for a long, long time. So, um, quickly before we move on, did either of you guys looking forward to a Juggernaut statue, or how did you feel when you finally saw the reveal? Go ahead, Charles.
Okay. You see, this is a difficult question to answer, and I'll say why. Number one, yes, it is a nice Juggernaut statue, but that isn't the only thing that I think about now. I think about how much it's going to cost me to ship this thing.
Mm-hmm.
Gone are the days or $25 shipping. Like for example, the XM Studios Shogun, that's over $1,000 to ship.
Right.
And maybe you guys don't always. Well, I know I do. Somewhere in my mind, I know I'm going to sell this down the line. $1,000. How do I add $1,000 to retail, and then it's going to cost them $1,000 to get it for me?
Yeah.
So I can't
So we'll
fault.
talk more about that in the
Yeah,
next topic. So
yeah.
just
So
speaking from the statue, did that reveal kind of live up to the years of development? It seemed like for a Juggernaut, they been kind of teasing it forever. It seems like.
um, I I don't find Juggernaut a deep enough character for me to get into. He's more like a force of nature. Nothing could stop the Juggernaut. But
Yeah.
there isn't much to him. Uh, I think it'll do well. I think fans will come for this one. Maybe not in the
Yeah.
same numbers as Thanos, but they'll come for this one. I find like these big, strong, bulky guys have a lot of fans. Fans like strength, and I think they'll come out for this one. It's a nice piece. It's not maybe not one I would
Yeah.
buy, but it's a nice piece.
So Gina, what do you think about
I mean,
Juggernaut?
Juggernaut's never been my favorite. He's always been pretty cool, but he's never been my favorite villain from the X-Men universe. I think it was. I know this piece was really highly anticipated. I think it's a very. One thing I was surprised about was I thought it was a very, very safe standard pose for Juggernaut. So I was expecting maybe something a little bit more original, something that they would have added in there. I know they have that exclusive Kitty Pride, but I thought
Yeah.
that the pose and the design might just add that one tint that was a little bit gave us a little bit of a different look at Juggernaut. It was very, very safe. So I think my first impressions was they're gonna give us a very well produced safe statue, which is perfectly fine. And I think that it would only do well in terms of selling if they keep that edition size lower for this one,
Hmm.
and just say, you know what, they keep it lower, they keep it to under 1,000 or whatever, it will sell out. There's
Yeah.
enough Juggernaut fans. If they're smart and they keep the edition size really small, it's going to do well, and they're going to sell out on that piece.
See, I think if they had come out, remember Thanos, they announced the edition size off the bat, 500 or whatever it was. I think if they had done that with this, it'd be sold out already.
It
If
would
they
be.
said there's only 500 exclusives or something.
Yeah.
And I think once they do announce it, if it is a low number, less than 1,000, I think it'll
Yeah.
sell out
Yeah.
quickly after that. People, It's going to follow the normal trend. People, the reveal, oh my god, I love it. Then the price, oh my god, I hate it. And then once the edition size is announced, they'll jump on it. So, speaking of prices, let's talk about kind of, I guess it's kind of the elephant in the room with statues these days. The prices are not going down anytime soon. It doesn't seem like it. So I used the Juggernaut. We're going to use that as kind of an example because it's in a recent release. This statue is nearly $1,400. So
US, right?
US dollars. And I don't know, like, what do you think? Does that price seem in line with what we've been seeing from other companies? What do you think?
In terms of rising of prices,
Yeah. So I mean,
I think everybody's prices have been rising at a rate far faster than everybody's salary. Well, not everybody's salary. I can't speak for everybody, but they're very expensive.
I was expecting 12 for this one, so I was a bit surprised 14. I think just for the size, I knew it was going to be over 1,000. I figured it was going to be over 1,000 even before they previewed it. And then when they previewed it, I'm thinking, oh, okay, yeah, it's 12. I am thinking 12. So 14 is a bit of a surprise to me.
So let's just put that in perspective here. So here is their full new X-Men lineup so far, and so we've got Magneto was, I think, $740, which was high at the time. Rogue is $700, and then you got the premium formats, Mystique and so on, in that sort of around $500 to $600 range. And then you got this Juggernaut that's all of a sudden $1,400. You can get Rogue and Magneto for almost the same price. So I don't know. Like, does that price seem justified to you? It's hard to say. I mean, I'm sure it's huge. I'm sure once you get them side by side, you'll see, holy crap, Juggernaut's enormous. But
look,
really, like double the price?
We can ask that question just about everything: artwork, comic books. They are. I'm not going to say they're intentionally, raising prices to astronomical levels. I think the market is going to decide if they continue to sell. How many did Thanos sell? 3,000?
Yeah, something like
right,
that.
at 1,250. So the money is there, right? So, and people are lining up to buy those other statues from the other companies, and we don't even know who they are. So I think we're seeing too much through the eyes of North American fans, and I think the money is there. It's still there. It's still very expensive. I think what I'm hearing more bitching about, if I can say that word, bitching, I hear a lot more about the shipping. I hear a lot more about the shipping than I do about the rising prices. I mean, it's like the person who spends $2,000 on a painting and is going to Walmart to buy a $20 frame. Shipping is something that's also going up. That's not going anywhere. That's going to continue to rise. I don't know how they're going to what they're going to do about this.
I think shipping is probably going to be the killer for the hobby. I mean, if anything, people are willing to spend the money on a statue, and I can just speak from my own, selling stuff on the secondary market. I put my stuff up for sale, and people are like, oh, okay, that's a good price. I'm interested. How much to ship to Florida or wherever? And it's like $250, and
you lose the sale.
Right there. Boom. It's like they're willing to spend whatever, $1,000 on the statue, but they won't spend that. And even within Canada, when it's like $80 to ship the same, let's say the same statue, for me to ship it to Ontario, they're like, oh no, I'll spend $800 on the statue. I won't spend $80 on that shipping.
Well, that's the deal that you get, right? When you get the PM, I want to buy your statue, they'll give you a price and they'll ask for it shipped, right? 800 shipped. And I get PMs like that every so often, and this is just not going to happen. And that's the killer, right? Because you went from spending $400 for a statue, which is what they were for a long while, PFs, I'm saying, with $25 shipping. So it's $425. And now a lot of them are $800 and you're paying several $100s in shipping. So it's hard enough having to pay double or for a statue, or in some cases even triple for a statue. But now you're paying 10 times or more the price of shipping. Like when, like I was talking about before, the Batman Shogun is gorgeous. I loved it, but it's going to cost me $1,000 to ship. Like, think about this number. This is a number I'm never going to get back.
I think it's just something that we all have to sort of take into consideration when we get these pieces. And I think, I mean, the more statues you get, then you understand, oh, wow, so shipping costs this much, then for resale, you have to just sort of think about that. It's just something now that we have to add into consideration, unfortunately. It's just a fact of the day now. It's just the fact of the market. So, it's just how it is. And, I mean, I've sort of past the time of like, sort of complaining. I just have to get over it. And it's like, what can you do?
Pass by at this point. You pass or you buy.
That's exactly it.
You have no control.
And I have to say too, there have been statues that I passed on the PO because I knew shipping was going to add an extra, $500, $600, and like, you know what? That just went over my bracket, and I'm like, nah. You know what? It's a great statue. There are statues that I passed on because I knew the shipping was going to cost that much. It was like, you know what? That's okay. Then it's just not for me then, right? And that's fine. So yeah, rather than just complaining, it kind of makes your decision making. Maybe it should make your decision making easier then. If you're trying to decide, it's like, you know what?
The other part to add to your point is, we see people selling statues 4 or 5 months or even a year down the line, and they're selling it below retail, right? And that they're already losing what they paid in shipping, and they're selling it for less than retail. So you kind of feel bad for that guy.
I've done that. I've had to eat that a few times. Yeah, just to clear space and things. So yeah, that's where we're at, I think. And like Gina said, I'm not whining about it, but you definitely need to consider it. And when you look at the price that's advertised, you have to add $400, $500, $600, maybe $1,000, depending on how big it is and if it ships in 2 or 3 boxes. And
yeah, it's the cost enjoyment ratio, right? If as long as the cost is in line with your enjoyment, you're okay. But once the cost it surpasses the enjoyment ratio, you pass. I'll give you an example. Is there any Craven statue, no matter how beautiful it is there any Craven statue that you would pay $1,200 for?
No, and I've been waiting for somebody to let that one go for like $400 or something like that. It hasn't happened yet, because I've got a lot of the Sinister Six, but I don't have don't have him right now. But yeah, you're exactly right. That's why I don't have Craven right now, because I'm not spending $1,200 on a Craven. Otherwise, I probably would have it just to be part of the line, right? If I could get it for $600, I probably would have. But I do miss the $25 flat rate shipping from Sideshow.
Oh God, was that not great?
$25, like FedEx would be here in 2 days. It was amazing.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. Gone are those days,
So I guess where we're at is the jump in prices. Do you find it? I don't know if acceptable is the right word I want to use, but justified, I guess. Or is it?
There are a lot of hands in the pie, right? There's the digital sculptors make a lot of money, and they deserve it. And then you've got the CEO, and then you've got the licensor, and there are a lot of people who are getting a slice of this pie. No one wants to do this for nothing. Right?
Yeah.
I'm still buying statues, but I'd be a liar if I didn't say I'm more selective. Gone are the days of 10 statues a year, right? Now it's 3 or 4. The irony is that the 3 of us seem to buy most of the same statues. So we don't even get to, show each other stuff that the other doesn't have.
Yeah.
But all this to say, you got to be more selective if you want to stick around. I won't go into debt, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I know that. I'm in the same boat. Yeah, most of my pre-orders are into next year even. So I'm scared that to think of what shipping is going to be like a year from now.
Oh, you're talking about Predator.
Predator is one for sure.
Well, I'm getting that one too, and I am scared because I know that's not going to be one box, but that's one you see, that's an example of a statue that you'll probably never need to get another Predator after that one, at least for a long while.
That one I'm prepared to enjoy. That one, that's a nice looking statue,
and we saw it, and
yeah.
that was probably the selling point, right? Because we saw the Predator, it was gorgeous, and it was the same thing with Weapon X. You saw the Weapon X, and it was like probably wouldn't have bought it unless we saw it in person. It was so impressive to look at. Yeah. So thankfully, we don't see that many new statues in person. We wouldn't succumb under the beauty pressure.
Yeah. What do you think, Gina? Prices?
Yeah, the thing about the prices for statues going up too, I think it's sort of a catch-22 for the statue companies. So, I mean, they've been asked to, obviously the community wants more original posing, better engineering, more, sort of expand.
Low edition size, yeah.
Yeah, and of course, better QC. So to give us that, of course, these statues are going to cost more. So do I want a better engineered statue that's more unique and like Rogue, which is couldn't have been done 5-6 years ago? Do I want something that's more unique of Rose rather than just the Captain Morgan pose?
Yeah.
So people keep saying they're tired of the Captain Morgan pose. Okay, so you want something that's more unique, whatever. It's going to cost you more, and then you want better QC. So they're giving us this, and then I think it's just a theory of mine that's part of also the increase in pricing. It's like they're giving us more. So it's going to cost
that's what they'll
more.
Tell us, yeah, and then costs are going up. Shipping costs for them is going up too.
I have to say, right? From XM, and from Sideshow, these statues I've gotten in the last 2 years, they're giving us they cost more, but they're giving us more. They could not for the same price point 5 years ago. They would not have produced this type of statue, sculpt wise, detail wise, paint wise. They wouldn't have. So, we are given more for these statues. Whether they're worth the price and that's a different discussion. But we are given more. The statue companies are giving us more for these higher prices. We are given more. So
the statue companies are kind of responding to this. They are offering more smaller scales. So XM is doing it. Tweeterhead is doing it. We are seeing smaller scale statues as some form of response to the price of shipping, diminishing shelf space. So it's interesting to see how the industry will look in a few years. They're going to make room for everybody, right? So if it's going to be too expensive, how long before we start buying the smaller scale pieces? I'm not quite ready yet, because I'm kind of like attached to the quarter scale, but
I'm kind of halfway there.
I've started buying smaller. I've started buying smaller pieces. It definitely makes it. It's coming. And even now, Sideshow's new. I mean, this whole designer toy market, which I really enjoy, and now Sideshow has this unruly design. Designer toys, which this new series they're doing, and I think it's amazing. I think they're really cool. And then of course Tweeterhead has smaller scale stuff. So I think it I think it's awesome.
Yeah, and a couple of viewers are kind of chatting they're saying maybe that's the way the future is with smaller scales, less shipping, less cost overall, but they're upping the detail in those lines. So
that's very true.
Maybe that is the way of the future, because I've got a few of those XM ones on pre-order, the 1/6 ones, and a couple Tweeterhead ones on order. So I'm kind of moving that way, at least for DC, anyways. Just
to add to your point, the XM 1/6 line, look what they had to do, right? It wasn't enough just to, like Gina said, just do the Captain Morgan pose. You had to have, the Flash on that treadmill with the whole lightning effect and dynamic. I mean, they really had to work hard to get you to take a second look, right? So, and that's what they have to do. And each one of those 1/6 lines seem to bring you something more. You know, we have a lot of people saying, you know, they can't wait till Bowen comes back or they miss it. I don't think that level would make it today. You know, the people are kind of used to getting a little bit more. You know, it's a different era.
Yeah, I mean, look at that Lobo coming up from
yeah,
I mean, that
with the
thing
bike.
looks amazing. Yeah. You're really excited about Lobo. Anyways, I think that's about it for this show. Unless you guys have anything last words you want to get in here.
I'm looking forward to seeing Shazam. I'm looking forward to seeing Endgame. I think that we're going to be treated to some really fun movies this year, and I think the next time we'll have a show like this that's not necessarily interview oriented. You know, let's get back together and talk about Endgame.
Yeah, it's coming out. Well, it's practically April now. It's coming out this month in a few weeks, really. Shazam.
I think Endgame deserves its own episode.
Yeah, we may have to because you know what? That's.
I think we could do that. We can definitely have a sort of a Endgame oriented.
Can talk about the whole thing
MCU,
leading up to it. Yeah, the MCU. We can whole MCU episode.
I really feel that this movie will. I don't think it'll be a total end. I think we're going to see something at the end of this movie that's going to open a door to.
I tell you what we need to see.
What are we going to do now?
I tell you what we do need to see. So they finally locked the deal. Marvel finally locked the deal with Fox X-Men. And whatever. Yeah, we need to see some sort of hint to X-Men at the very end, or even the even the Fantastic Four. Yeah, even the Silver Surfer, something like that. They don't have to show us the character.
That would be a good kind of transition to the next phase. You know, the Thanos phase will end, and whoever the next big bad will be, Doctor Doom or whoever it will be, right? So, I'm looking forward to that. Shazam, I definitely recommend it. I saw it, as I mentioned off the top. John Wick 3. Maybe we'll have a John Wick episode. Do you guys watch those?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw the first two.
Yeah. That's on my wife's birthday weekend. So, Claire, you know what we're doing that weekend. Just throwing it out there.
Hold on. The director of John Wick is doing something else. It slipped my mind.
Deadpool. I think he did Deadpool.
No, he's doing something upcoming. Kill or Be Killed. Right? So that's what he's doing. He's working on that movie with Ed Brubaker that they want to do the Kill or Be Killed. So that should be very cool. I hope I got that right. I hope it wasn't Sleeper, just in case I made a mistake. He's doing one of those. So, God,
either one would make a good movie. I don't know
forgetting which one it was.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll wrap this show up. Thanks to everyone for joining us. Mark and the Paradox Nerd and X-Men exclusives were there for most of the show. So thanks, guys, for joining us.
We'll see you next time.
We'll talk to you guys soon.